The next area in philosophy, or the next area within questions of value that philosophy deals with, is something called political philosophy. And many of you have, you certainly have heard issues about political philosophy. But now let's spend some time looking at the questions of political philosophy, or questions of value related to what's called political philosophy, related to government, obviously. And if you think about it, there's some central questions that come up with political philosophy. Or one way to think about it is political philosophy is applying ethics to government or to society in general. And if you think about it, there are a bunch of questions you can ask along these lines. One of them being, what's the just form of government? Here we think what makes a government just here in the United States is that it's elected by a majority of vote. Yet nonetheless, if you're in the minority on all the questions, you never get your way. Is the government that's elected in that way just? People used to say we needed a monarchy, we needed a king, that's the just form of government. Some people think that you need divine inspiration, God has to be involved, and you need theologians running the government. So the basic question is, what is the morally right form of government? And that raises some interesting questions about kind of the relationship between people and society. That is, what ought this? What's the morally correct relationship? And one way to think about it is what does society owe its citizens? You're a member of society. What does society owe you? What are they morally obliged? What's the government morally obliged to give you? Safety, protect you, educate you, health care, a job. What does the government owe you morally? But on the flip side, you got to remember the questions go the other way. That is, what do the citizens owe society, owe the government? Pay taxes? Are all your possessions that you've acquired through your work, do you owe them all to the government? A certain percentage of them? Excuse me. And another thing to think about it. Well, if the government should protect you, do you have the obligation to serve in the military or in the police or in some public safety capacity? What's the relationship that you have there? Now I want you to go back to the discussion forum and go to the question on political philosophy, because there I pose a very specific question that I want you to answer, and it really comes on it comes under the question, what does society owe its citizens? And then the follow-up is kind of, what do the citizens owe society? That is, question, does society owe you a college education? Are they morally obliged to provide you? Is it a moral requirement that they provide you with an education? And if you think so, or if you think so under certain conditions, then the question is, who is obliged? Who's morally obliged? Who has a moral obligation to pay for the costs? That is, society or government just doesn't, produce money out of nowhere. Rather, somebody has to produce goods that are going to pay for it. Well, how are you going to pay for it? We'll turn to that form and and this is going to be your last entry for this segment of the online part of the course for this week.